time management and decision making. With so much to do, how do you prioritise that limited resource of time? This is Anyone Can Play Guitar, the podcast for musicians and music lovers that takes you behind the scenes of the music industry. This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started.
Hello and welcome to episode 54 of the show on time management and decision making with me, Ben, and him,
Jim.
Was that the cat?
That's an example of how to save time, Ben.
Oh, right.
Speak quickly.
You're right.
Right. To be fair, it's probably not the best way of saving time.
No, I mean, we'll probably think of better ways to do it.
No. Well, we didn't even save time in doing that.
No, because I didn't see the stage direction.
So, we make decisions all day long, every day. Sometimes they're quite small little things. Sometimes you make a whopping big, really significant decision.
Yeah.
So, there's only so many hours in the day, and sometimes these decisions can make or break your career, whether you're in music or anything. Mm-hmm. Before we get into all that,
yeah.
Quick recap on last week, where we discussed identity and feedback. Among others, Stephen Page produced some insight for us.
If he has a criticism of the song, it makes me have to come up with an appropriate argument as to why I have so much stuff on there or whatever. And if I can't come up with an appropriate argument, then I realize he's right.
But today is time management and decision making. Season 1 plug, James. We spoke to the band Shopping at the Newcastle Cluny, who used time to their advantage in the early parts of their career.
Let's see what happens if we make stuff happen really quickly. Because we've been in a lot of bands and it's always really fun, and obviously you're always juggling work as well, so a lot of the time stuff takes a while. And I'd just been made redundant, and these two were weren't working in the daytime, so we had a lot of time. We were like, okay, let's just do something quickly and release it ourselves.
Coming up in today's episode, along with Stephen Page, who you've already heard a little snippet from, you'll also hear from John Fratelli, Jimmy Eat World, and our first appearance from Leigh, Fuge, as well as Laurel.
Funny enough, when I'm the busiest and I've only got an hour to write a song, that's when I write the best songs.
Remember, a great way to support the show is to go on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and a review. It really does make a massive difference for the show. Now, on with the episode.
The majority of this episode is on decision making. However, we've paired it with a few usual useful nuggets on time management.
Useful nugget.
Don't even know why I added that in.
It's because you're still thinking of chicken nuggets.
It really has put us off.
Anyway, where are we going to start?
However, we've paired it with a few useful nuggets on time management, which is where we're going to get started today. Whether you're making your music full-time or in and around a part-time or full-time job, there's a finite amount of time, James. There is definitely a finite amount of time.
Only 24 hours.
That's what they tell me. Not only do you need to write some awesome music, you need to practice that awesome music, book gigs, promote yourself, record yourself, release it, copyright it. The list goes on and on and on and on.
Big list.
Big list. I mean, how many specials have we done in just this one season? So how much time do musicians have to spend on their music?
In terms of all of sort of songwriting's obviously a massive part of what you do, but you've touched on all of the other things. What's the split between sort of time spent purely on the music versus all of the other things that...
Well, the whole summer I had hours and days and weeks to write music. I was absolutely bored stiff. But at the moment, I don't have a second to write music, and weirdly, I'm making the best songs because of it.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's like, my album came out. I'm doing. The end of the week comes, I'm like, what did I do with my week? All I know is I was busy every minute of the day. There's been a lot of sorting out now, yeah. But I think it's in periods, isn't it? It's in different times.
Yeah.
Funny enough, when I'm the busiest and I've only got an hour to write a song, that's when I write the best songs. The best songs come very quickly, and when I'm busy doing all this other stuff, because you don't have too much to think about, and because you're really fitting in that, you really want to write a song, otherwise you wouldn't fit that 1 hour that you have off writing a song, It's really when you have the passion to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were taught, I can't remember who it was now, but we were talking to one of our guests, and the whole putting yourself into, maybe Willie Mason actually, into like boundaries to try and get something out of it really worked for him. So it might be that kind of subconsciously coming through.
That's what, for me, when I was trying to mix a record, that happened. I got myself some new speakers. I said, I'm going to sit down, I'm really going to do this. And that worked for me on the mixing level, but I feel like writing music has to come out of nowhere, out of the sky. You can't sit down and decide you're going to write a great song.
That was Laurel, who you'll recognise by now from previous episodes. Another familiar voice to the show is Stephen Page, who noted in the songwriting episode earlier in the season that deadlines were really important to him. A different slant on how to use your time came from John Fratelli. Laurel described how busy she can sometimes be, and she can get to the end of the week and not always know what she's done. It's a familiar feeling
story
to a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
However, when it gets manic, hitting the reset button and taking a short break can sometimes be the best use of time.
We start recording the next Fratelli's record in April next year, so I need to get back onto that.
Yeah, and then does the tour start?
No, next year's quiet. This has been the busiest year we've had in a long time.
Right.
We've basically been on tour since March.
Yeah.
And we finish at Christmas.
Wow.
And so next year, we need to take it easier. You can't do anything over and over again without losing some of the shine,
Mm-hmm.
Like you pick your favourite food,
Yeah.
eat it every day for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and within a week you'd be sick of it, right?
Yeah.
So you do need time to go away and come back and fall back in love with it.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good thing, I suppose, for emerging artists to do. Like, maybe it's not take a year out if you're emerging because you want to try and keep on going, but a week here, a week there.
It can be completely transformative just to take a couple of weeks step back from something you're completely tied up in.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it can even take just a couple of days.
Now, we want to talk a little bit about decision making on this show, as it can have such a huge impact. What we'll do is we'll stick with John Fratelli for a moment, who was quite candid about some of the Fratelli's worst decisions.
So Costello Music did what Costello Music did, and then here we stand in 2008. That was all self-recorded, I believe.
Yeah, not a great idea, but yeah.
I was going to say, what was the thinking behind that?
There was no, in retrospect, there was no intelligence behind that.
Okay.
It wasn't an intelligent choice to have made. But I think at the time, we had really just spent 18 months constantly travelling. We'd barely been home.
Mm-hmm.
I had a young son at the time. And I think really the thing just was, we just want to go home,
right?
And spend some time there. And at the same time, we knew we needed to make another record. So we bought a studio.
Would you recommend doing that?
I wouldn't recommend that
Okay,
at all.
yeah.
No, that was a really unintelligent thing to have done.
Any particular reason?
Again, I wish I had a good answer for that. Just purely sort of immaturity and experience, because we really should have gone back. Tony Hoffer made the first record. He's now made our last two, and he's making the next one next year. We should have gone back to gone back to him.
Mm-hmm.
It was just complete immaturity,
right?
Not to, and it's really taken us a while. I think the other thing was we had made that first record, and some things were obvious after that, which was, one, I didn't want to do the same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I didn't know how to do the same thing again.
Okay.
But the other problem was I didn't know what to do next either. So it's a bit of a perfect storm of just of confusion, really. And it's really taken us up until this latest record to finally get to the point where we're how would I put it? That we're finally starting to make the music that we probably were moving towards all the time without knowing that we were moving there and without knowing how to move to there. It's taken us that long, really, to get to that point.
And is that why it's called In Your Own Sweet Time?
No, that's just a coincidence.
Just a coincidence.
But it really is the first time that we felt very in control of what we were doing, and that everything for the first time in a long time became easy again. And we, the next record we're going to make is basically written, and it's followed that same theme where it just feels completely easy.
Right.
And the good thing is now that we really can do whatever we want.
Okay.
Which is really the perfect place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's for a while it felt like you had all these people who liked this style of music, but you want to move away from it, but you can't move away from it instantly. So there's this sort of balancing act that goes on. And like I said, it's taken us this long to finally just about work out how to balance that.
See, I'd have thought that buying a studio would have been a really good, sensible investment of money. They had a really big first album. I could sort of see the logic.
That's what Radiohead did.
I thought, right, you know what? Let's plug that back in. We're going to have to spend money recording stuff again in the future. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And was it Justin who
Yep.
said, and your code name was Milo Days, was it? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work. He did a lot of work with that, and he does a lot of the production stuff as well with it as now.
So it worked really well for Justin, but not so well for the Fratellis.
I think it is a band-to-band situation decision.
I think a lot of what he was saying, we were just naive. We didn't really have a clue what we were doing.
Yeah.
Time for a short break. This week is brought to you in partnership with MGR Music. Ever wanted to learn an instrument, hone your skills, or pick up something completely new? You can get so far by yourself, however professional guidance can make all the difference. With a network of tutors right across the UK and rates starting from as little as £15 per hour, visit mgrmusic.com now to get started.
Now it's time for our regular good course slot. This week it's from John Fratelli.
Well, we've been involved with a few things over the years, but the one thing that we've been consistently involved with, there's a charity up in Scotland called the Eilidh Brown Memorial Fund.
Okay.
Eilidh was a young girl, I think she was 12 or 13, who contracted a really rare form of cancer.
Okay.
And sadly died maybe about a year later. And it seems to be the case, I know far too many people where their kids have died young. And it seems to be the case that a lot of the time I think it's turned into a positive.
Yeah.
So the Eilidh Brown Memorial Fund is raising money to build a kind of retreat centre for kids and their families when the kids have something terminal and don't have long to live. And it's somewhere that they can go that's not a hospital.
Yeah.
Where they can all spend time together, and they're not far off they're what they were aiming for. I think they're actually almost on the verge of being able to start building it.
That's great.
So we've been doing, they do like a fundraising gig every year, and we've been doing that for the last 6 or 7 years.
Right.
So it would be nice if they got to the point quite soon where they could start to build.
Well, we'll certainly put all the links in our show notes and on our website. That's a great charity.
It's a shame that they have to do it.
Yeah.
That they
Exactly.
were put in that position. But like I said, I've seen so many times now that people then turn it into something positive.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for your time, John. I hope you enjoyed your Castle and Madness and literally madness at the arena tonight.
The madness.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you.
You can find out more about the Eilidh Brown Memorial Fund at eilidhbrown.co.uk. That's eilidhbrown.co.uk. And now, back to the episode.
We heard earlier that Laurel writes her best music when she doesn't have much time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like that.
My dissertation was done like that.
Well,
It was the best grade I got at uni.
for Jimmy Atkins, sometimes it can be a challenge just on where to start.
With the new album, which you're in the middle of working on, is that how's that process going?
Let's see.
Does it feel the same as when you first started writing?
Yeah, no, I mean it's the like I think anytime you sit down to write, you're bringing the culmination of everything you've learned up until that point.
Yeah,
You know, with music on the music side, on the lyric side, you know, I mean, and a lot of the times it's like it's sort of paralyzing because there's so many options.
Yeah.
Of where you can go and how you can get there. It's the trickiest thing for me now. The biggest obstacle I find is like just going.
Okay.
Like forget about like the myriad of ways that you can go. Are you like just go?
Right. Just do
If
it.
that makes any sense.
I think I know what you mean. Like just do it.
Yeah, it's like, you know, we could spend the next like 4 hours talking about the ways you can overthink it, because there's many.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like it just gets down to like the really fundamental question of how do you write a song?
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and,
Yeah.
and like how many answers are there for that?
A lot.
And what is a song? You know, so like I don't know. When do you know you have a song? It's kind of like that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I suppose it means different things to different people once you've released it into the world
How much?
as well.
Yeah. How much are you restraining yourself? Like, what are your parameters? I think that's the key thing for me. Is like, what are the parameters for this?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like, and I just said, but there's no rules about how something comes together, but you got to have like a direction.
Yeah, because you can kind of go too far the way.
Yeah, and for some, and by parameters, I mean like, just what does this feel like it wants to be? Because you can rule out a lot of different things that it doesn't want to be.
It shows that even top musicians can face some really paralysing decisions, and the ability to overthink versus the risks of just rushing something out have to be balanced.
Mm-hmm. And another big decision is around how to get the best work-life balance, James. That comes to anything.
Yeah.
I think when you're in a band, the life part is this part of the work-life balance. How many shows you play, where to play, and all that sort of stuff is key to someone like Stephen Page.
You know, essentially you use social media to promote the events that you need to promote, and then other ones like ones that sell out right away, or you're doing a lot of one-offs that kind of comes and goes and disappears off the radar very quickly, like they drop off people's memory even. So, and what I've been doing a lot of is 4 shows here and 5 shows there, and you know, filling up a month that way, but with 3 days home in between, which makes touring a lot easier. But also touring as a solo artist, I could put together whatever package I want, whatever kind of the show demands. So if it needs a full 6-piece rock band, I can do that with horn section, or I can do it, you know, the trio like I've brought over here, or solo acoustic, any of those things. So it means, you know, for me, I try to tour as lean as possible.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's just more work. I mean, it is, you know, without a big, you know, coach to sleep in or any of those kinds of things, you don't have the expenses of that, but you also don't have the luxury of that, or
True.
paying a large crew to advance, set everything up for you. Whether we tend to kind of come in and do that ourselves.
Yeah.
Bring 1 or 2 crew members and that's it.
And do you like that? Does it feel like going back to 88, 89, round Speaker's Corner, that sort of Amen Corner, that sort of thing?
I'm not super sentimental about the early days, like sleeping on people's floors and stuff. It was like we did what we had to do. But I hate the idea of what we did in the early days was you're investing in your career. We used to joke that we would get just as far driving down the highway in America in a tour bus with a suitcase full of money open on the roof and just letting it blow out there like it was the same thing. But we knew we were investing in a career. When you're at a point in your life where you have a career and you want to take advantage of it, you want to be able to actually make it work for you, and you have a family to support. When I was 21, I didn't have kids to put through university and that kind of thing. I realize anything that kind of can be a luxury or extra expense, you're trying to trim back, and also realize like I lived a very pampered life and I don't have to. It's not that hard to do a little bit of extra work and tune your own guitars, change your own guitar strings. Yeah. But when I first started as a solo artist, I was like looking at my stuff thinking like, I know there was a time I used to do this, but I don't know when the last time I changed my own guitar strings was. There are weird things. You're kind of ashamed of yourself for not being able to take care of yourself as well.
Yeah, I suppose on the other side, during that, I would say, Gordon to whenever period, people are going to be pulling you in every different direction, so you probably will forget how to tune a guitar or string a guitar.
That was why, we had an amazing road crew, and actually a lot of those guys are still with Bare Naked Ladies now. Incredibly dedicated group of guys, and that's it. Like if you've got to run off and do 3 different radio visits and whatever else, you don't have time to do that kind of stuff. When you need to come back, do a sound check, do a meet and greet, do a gig, when you actually get the time to keep track of all your instruments and set it all up and everything.
Yeah. Still sounds like you're excited by the whole thing though.
Oh yeah, I love it. This is great. It's a great job.
Also, a lot of key decisions were made early on to invest in their career. So, buying a recording studio may or not work for some people. Avoiding luxuries can be sensible decision for the future. There's a whole host of different things decisions to make for all these types of things.
Now we move on to Leigh. Now, he does many things in music.
He does.
So, we got to know him from his partners, or his links and ties with our partner, MGR Music. So, he's a very accomplished guitar teacher, very accomplished guitar player. However, this is just one of the many things that he's built his career around. Now, we'll hear a lot more from him in upcoming episodes, the next 2 weeks. But just to give a bit of a snippet or an introduction here, he had a pretty key decision in his life to begin his sort of full-time career in music.
Like most people, trying to turn it into a job for, the best part of 14 years. I've been teaching for probably about 6 years now. And I've always played in bands since I was young. The teaching thing was something I picked up, as I said, about 6 years ago. But I used to do it on top of a full-time job.
Right.
With the aim that one day it would pay off and turn into, the career. So for years and years, I sort of did this, did what we all do. I sort of got by. I worked in a clinical research company for years. And, it was a good job, but ultimately it wasn't the guitar, it wasn't playing guitar all day. So I just kept, pushing and pushing, and, I've always prided myself on always saying yes to something. So it doesn't matter, if someone turns around and says, "Can you learn this set list in 3 days?" Yes, I can. It doesn't matter what it is, I will learn it, because I always think if you turn work down, then that work might not come up again.
Right.
So you should always say yes, especially if it's something you're working towards. Even if it's going to be a massive upheaval, you should say yes, because ultimately you're building your your credibility and reliability as well. If you can say yes to someone, then they might say, oh, well, this person did this for me in 3 days. Why don't you speak to them? And that's where the work comes from, is getting your name out there. But yeah, for years, I sort of juggled the various bits and pieces. But this is the year that it's really all come together for me. Earlier this year, I sat down and sort of made the conscious decision that, within the next, I set myself, I think, 18 months. And I said, within the next 18 months, I'm going to find a way to make it happen.
Right.
So the first thing I did was I went into work and I spoke to my boss and I said, look, this is my long-term plan. What options do I have? Because, I said I've worked here for a long time. I don't want to, walk out the door. But what I want to do is start moving myself in a different direction.
So in the full interview with Leigh, you'll find out how that key decision played out. You'll also get loads of insight into how standing up on stage isn't necessarily the only way to go about building a career in music. Or, alternatively, the many other music-related things you can be doing to bolster your income whilst you are on your journey to stardom.
So whether it's setting deadlines to force some action, having a perfect plan, or waiting for a spark of brilliance to just arrive whenever it does, know what works for you. Maybe you just haven't got time to procrastinate, James. Consider investing in your own future, but also make decisions that are right for you at the point in time. As with all our episodes, make sure the time you do have is spent enjoying yourself.
Additional news snippets from the interviews you've heard today will pop up in other episodes later in the season. And at the end of Season 2, we'll release each conversation with all of our guests in full as standalone episodes. As a reminder, if you like the show, please take a few seconds just to give us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts from. It makes a huge difference in helping us grow our audience and promoting the show. Next week we'll hear more from Leigh, as well as MGR Music founder Matthew Rusk, when we have an interview on learning to play the guitar.
And anyone can play guitar, James. Imagine.
And then you kind of get to this phase where you can start looking at things like power chords or bar chords, and that is such a significant moment for any student.
All of the show notes for today's episode can be found at acpgmusic.com, along with our back catalogue of episodes. If you like what you hear, or perhaps have some improvements or specific guests you'd like us to consider, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at info@acpgmusic.com or hit us up on social media. Keep supporting upcoming artists, and we'll catch you next time.